by the wearing of women's high-heel shoes to walk a mile. Survivors and victims of rape, abuse, domestic and gender violence are taking crucial steps in making the community aware of this issue. This issue is not an individual problem, but it is a community problem, and we as a community need to work together to end these sexual offenses towards women. All too often, female victims are made to feel powerless over their own lives, or even made to feel responsible for the abuses they have suffered at the hands of others. Society, too, has frequently been uncaring and lacks understanding of the suffering these women endure. I know what it feels like to be labeled damaged goods and to be made to feel ashamed of something that was beyond my control. And I am here today to send a message to all women. You can take back control over your lives. You are not to blame for your abuse, and you need not be made to feel ashamed by anyone, anywhere, at any time. Abuse for me began at age 5, when I was molested by the son of one of my mother's friends. Then again, at the age of 13, I was repeatedly raped and sexually violated in every way possible by my own father every single night for a year. Abandoned by my mother due to her divorce and remarriage, I felt so dirty, alone, and ashamed. I had no will to live. Fellow students discovered my shame through a girl whose mother was the friend of my mother, for my mother was fully aware of my father's reputation. I was ridiculed and ostracized at school, called nasty names by boys, and accused of willingly and repeatedly sleeping with my father. I lived my days in darkness and depression, and tried to take my own life several times. Eventually, with the help of some friends and co-workers, I successfully ran away from my father. I know that many women who suffer abuse feel that they cannot escape and that there is no support for them out there. The only reason I am here today is because I was able to escape my abuser and get help. And I want to say that if you are in an abusive relationship right now, you too can break free. You too can get help. You too can escape. There is support out there, and there is no reason to suffer, not even for one more day. Victims of abuse often suffer from low self-esteem, which can lead them into further abusive relationships. During my final year of college, I became involved in yet another abusive relationship. I felt this was all I'd ever deserve, and therefore I remained in the relationship for 4 years, until my abuser almost succeeded in killing me. I was stripped, pinned down, and nearly suffocated. As I struggled to maintain consciousness, I asked God to let me live, and to my surprise, my abuser backed off and I escaped. I spent 2 years running from this abuser, who continued to stalk me and break into my residence. Thanks to the police and the justice system, I was finally free of him when he was court-ordered to leave the state. I am here as a survivor, and I carry with me a message of hope and perseverance for all those women who may have been abused, and for all women everywhere, so that they might not suffer as many of us here today have suffered. However, while I may be free physically, the emotional scars still remain. Although today I enjoy a stable and loving relationship with my husband and beautiful child, I am frequently visited by nightmares that cause me to check all the windows and doors many times every night. Victimization does not end when the abuser goes away. That is why it's so important to educate our young people today, both young men and young women, so that they don't grow up in a world where the abuse of women is accepted, tolerated, and even covered up. As a young person, I was told that I had somehow warranted this abuse. As an adult, I was yet again ostracized and made to feel ashamed. At work, my colleagues made jokes about the topic. Abuse is not funny. Enough is enough. We have the right to tell our stories. We have the right to be heard. And that is why it is so important for us to be here today to bring attention and awareness to this all-important issue. Why is it that some people back away from this all-too-common problem in our society? Why is it that some victims choose to suffer in silence rather than endure the criticism that comes with exposure? Is it because our society does not support the victim and thereby tacitly endorses this behavior? Our community needs to understand the seriousness of rape, abuse, domestic violence, incest, sexual violence, and gender violence. The silence, shame, and ridicule have to end. We must all work together to spread awareness and foster community involvement, much like we are doing here today. Together, we can make a difference. We can be free. And we can change the world so that abusers know that it is not okay to hurt women, and so that women who have been hurt know that we are here for them and that they need not suffer any longer. So I thank you for coming out here today, and I thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you, Candace. It's very powerful. Reminds us of why we're here today. I'd like to take a second